Carino, exhibit number 12. This is published in the Washington Post on December 18, 2018. Were you aware of this article?
Yes.
Op-ed.
Yes.
Mr. Carino, when I asked you whether you were aware one way or the other, whether this lawsuit that's reflected in exhibit number 11 had a negative impact on Mr. Depp's reputation and career, you answered no. What did you mean by that?
I meant that there isn't a way for any individual to know whether the filing of a document had an impact on somebody's career, positive or negative, without specific research conducted in exactly that case.
The same as in the facts that you, because you haven't researched it, you don't know whether it impacted Mr. Depp's reputation or career, correct?
I believe I stated that unless someone had done research specifically about the filing of this document and its impact one way or the other, it's impossible to answer the question.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Carino number 14. This is the lawsuit that Mr. Depp filed against Ms. Heard. Do you believe that the filing of this lawsuit reflected in Carino deposition exhibit number 14 and the attendant publicity has had a negative impact on the reputation and career of Mr. Depp?
No.
And why not?
Because I've stated previously, it's not about the filing of a lawsuit, it's about the coverage. I mean, you're asking me what my opinion is of what Johnny's reputation is today. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
My opinion of what Johnny's reputation today is one of the finest actors of his generation.
In your opinion, has Mr. Depp's reputation changed at any point from October 2016 to the present?
If you're asking me if what I defined as his reputation has changed in terms of his being viewed as one of the best actors of his generation, I would say no.
So just so I'm clear that I understand your answer, in your opinion, Mr. Depp's reputation is that he is one of the finest actors of his generation, and that has been his reputation since you started representing him in October 2016. It still is today, and it hasn't changed during that time frame. Is that correct?
The view on his acting ability has not changed.
Well, I'm taking your definition of reputation. You said what they are known for. So I'm taking that specific definition, and I'm asking, is there anything other than that Mr. Depp is one of the finest actors of his generation that he is known for that has changed between October 2016 and the present?
The only way I can answer that is as it relates to his professional capabilities. That has not changed.
Is there something that has changed that doesn't relate to his professional capabilities?
I don't know how to answer that, Elaine.
Using your definition of reputation, which is what a person is known for, is there any aspect of what Mr. Depp is known for that has changed between October 2016 and the present?
I've stated what I think his reputation is, and I've stated that, in my opinion, his professional reputation as it relates to the quality of his acting abilities has remained unchanged.
Do you make any distinction between personal and professional reputation?
Yes.
And what is that distinction?
The difference between what somebody does on screen and off screen.
What is your opinion of what Mr. Depp was known for off screen when you started representing him in October 2016?
I think what he was known for off screen was a shroud of mystery of who he was, because he was not visible to the public.
And that was back in October 2016?
I don't have a specific date for that.
All right, but when you started representing him, that was your sense?
Yes.
Okay. Did that change over time?
Yes.
And in what way did it change?
It changed with the exposure of that came with the lawsuits.
And the lawsuits that we're talking about are the ones that we've already taken a look at: Exhibit 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 15? No, I mean 14.
I mean, I'm not talking about any one or two specifically, in general.
Do you believe that Mr. Depp is still a shroud of mystery, not visible to the public?
No,
And when did that change?
I don't know exactly when.
Would you say it was cumulative over the period of time as a result of all of the litigation and the publicity ensuing?
Probably. Agree with that.
Is there any one specific litigation that you believe most significantly impacted on Mr. Depp's personal reputation no longer being a shroud of mystery and not visible to the public?
My opinion is that Amber's accusations would have had the most dramatic impact on his off-screen reputation. I'm not talking about any one specific accusation.
When you say Amber's accusations, what do you mean by that?
I mean the things that she's accused Johnny of doing, both in that have been made public.
Now, Those accusations were made public in the divorce back in 2016, correct?
I don't know exactly how or when they were made public.
Given that you believe Amber's accusations would have had the most dramatic impact on Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation, would Amber have been filing the divorce action and obtaining a domestic violence restraining order have had a dramatic impact on Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation?
I think the only way I can answer that is by saying I don't think filing for divorce would have any impact whatsoever. And I'm actually not familiar with the lawsuit to get the restraining order, so I don't know exactly what's in there. But if that was based on claims of or accusations of abuse, then that, in my opinion, would have a negative impact on Johnny's off-screen reputation.
Mr. Carino, we were talking about Amber's accusations and your view that those would have the most dramatic impact on Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation. And you were talking about her accusations of domestic abuse and violence, correct?
Yes.
Were you aware that the Dan Wooten article published in The Sun included specific accusations by Amber Heard of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp?
The Sun case, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
First the article itself that was in the paper, the why is J.K. Rowling genuinely happy about employing Mr. Depp, the wife beater?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that the litigation, the lawsuit, including the particulars of the claim brought by Mr. Depp, included the accusations by Amber Heard of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp, correct?
Yes.
Given that the Mandel lawsuit included accusations by Amber Heard of domestic violence by Mr. Depp against her, are you able to say how much of Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation was impacted by the Mandel lawsuit?
No.
Now, you were aware that the op-ed by Dan Wooten in The Sun included accusations by Amber of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware, one way or the other, how much Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation was impacted by the complaint that was filed in this case that contained Amber Heard's accusations of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp?
No.
Are you aware of how much Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation was impacted as a result of the op-ed in the Washington Post from Amber Heard?
No.
Are you aware of how much Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation was impacted by the accusations included in the Waldman tweet on May 2020 of the op-ed?
No.
Are you aware of any role or opportunity that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the op-ed by Dan Wooten in The Sun?
No.
Are you aware of any role or, and when I'm saying opportunity, any kind of business opportunity that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the particulars of claim? that Mr. Depp filed?
No.
Are you aware of any role or business opportunities that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the op-ed by Amber Heard in the Washington Post?
Okay.
Are you aware of any roles or business opportunities that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the Waldman tweet from May 2020 relating to Amber's op-ed?
No.
Is there any other role or business opportunity that Mr. Depp has lost since you started representing him in October 2016? And I'm saying,
I would say his, I would say yes.
what?
The Pirates, the next Pirates movie.
Do you remember which one that was?
6, 7, I'm not sure what the number is.
It's 6. I think Pirate 6 is the one that's yet to come out here. And why, what is your understanding of why Mr. Depp lost Pirate 6?
My opinion is that it was related to the accusations that Amber has made.
And what is your opinion based on?
Excuse me?
What is your opinion based on?
Conversations with colleagues and studio execs.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
Conversations with studios and other executives, both internal and external.
When you say related to the accusations that were made by Amber Heard against Mr. Depp, are you talking about accusations of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp?
Yes.
How many conversations have you had with studio and other executives?
I have no idea.
More than 5, more than 10?
I don't know about more than 10, probably between 5 and 10.
Who do you recall speaking with at studios or other executives?
Jerry Bruckheimer, probably mostly Jerry, and then colleagues at CAA.
When did you first have any conversations with Jerry Bruckheimer about Pirate 6 and Mr. Depp?
I have no idea.
Do you recall whether it was in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019?
I don't.
When did you have any conversations with colleagues at CAA?
It would have been whenever the decisions were being made about how to cast that movie. I don't honestly, I don't know what year that was.
Do you recall who you spoke with at CAA?
I spoke with Jack Wiggum. I spoke with Brian Lord.
What do you recall Jerry Bruckheimer telling you?
I don't recall the specific conversations, but the nature of it was that the studio was having difficulty employing him.
And did Mr. Bruckheimer tell you why the studio was having difficulty employing Mr. Depp?
No, not specifically, but it was understood.
Did you ask?
I didn't need to.
Why did you think you didn't need to?
Because everyone was aware of what was garnering the attention of the studios and determining whether or not he could be employed.
When you say everyone was aware, how do you know that?
I don't know. I just knew.
Can you tell me who everyone is? Can you tell me who anyone is?
The people who would have been involved in making that decision.
Well, if I'm understanding you correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the only person at Disney that you spoke with about pirates and employing Mr. Depp was Jerry Bruckheimer, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you spoke between 5 and 10 times with Mr. Bruckheimer, and he did not say in any of those conversations, the reason we're not employing Mr. Depp is because of Amber Heard's accusations of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp, correct?
That's good.
Mr. Carino, when we went off for the break, we were talking about your discussions with Jerry Bruckheimer and other executives at CAA respecting Mr. Depp not being employed further at Disney and likely not pirates. And I think a question came up right before the break. And so I just want to make sure that I have clear. Did you talk with anyone other than Jerry Bruckheimer at Disney about Mr. Depp not being employed again at Disney or pirates?
No.
Okay. And was I correct that you, in a certain understanding, you had somewhere between 5 and 10 conversations with Mr. Bruckheimer relating to this topic?
Probably less than that. I talk to Jerry regularly, but probably not that many on this topic.
Okay. And was there anyone else at Disney that you spoke with at any point about Johnny Depp being considered for pirates or not being employable by Disney?
No.
Okay. And is that true to the present?
Yes.
Okay. And the other discussions that you had, those were all with executives at CAA?
Yes.
And that was Brian Lord and Jack Whittle, correct?
Yes.
Anyone else?
Not that I can recall, no.
Okay. You had indicated that you believe that everyone was aware that the impact of Amber's allegations were at the heart of this. I just want to make sure that we're clear, since we were just talking about this before the break. Jerry Bruckheimer did not say specifically what it was that caused Disney to decide not to continue with Johnny Depp and Pirates 6 or in other matters, correct?
Correct.
Well, and I'm trying to reach that it was understood. I'm trying to discover any facts that would have led you to believe it was understood. And if I'm understanding, use the same word, Mr. Bruckheimer didn't tell you that, correct?
Again, it was understood. So I don't recall whether either of us ever said anything specific about why, but it is something within the industry that is understood.
Can you tell me whether any other actors did not receive roles or were unemployable because of the Me Too movement allegations? Other than Mr. Depp, I'm asking.
Not that I work with directly, no.
In any of your discussions with Mr. Bruckheimer, did you ask him what Mr. Depp could do to become employable by Disney again, or to be able to get any part of any Pirates franchise going forward?
No.
Why not?
Because there in cases like this, there is nothing anybody can do. It is the directive of the studio and they have the sole right to make the judgment whether they can continue to employ somebody or not.
And your understanding from your discussions with Mr. Bruckheimer is that Disney had made the judgment to decide that they could no longer employ Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
Yes, but not solely based on conversations with Mr. Bruckheimer. It was cumulative with the internal and external conversations.
What did Mr. Lord say that led you to believe that? That Disney had made the decision, the judgment that they were not able to employ Mr. Depp at Disney?
Just that the decision had been made.
What did Mr. Whittam say about
The
Disney
same.
making the judgment of whether they would not be able to employ Mr. Depp?
Same thing.
Okay. Just that they made the decision.
Correct.
Were you aware of any problems on the set with Mr. Depp during the filming of Pirates 5? Were you aware of Mr. Depp engaging in alcohol and drug use, being tardy, any of those issues during the filming of Pirates 5?
I'm aware of him being tardy, but he's been tardy on everything in his entire life.
Were you aware of whether that was troublesome to Disney during the filming of Pirates 5?
I think it's troublesome to everybody, but everyone has learned how to produce a film to deal with it.
Working around Mr. Depp?
Yes.
Do you know whether there was anyone on the set of Pirates 5 who wasn't willing to deal with it and was quite irritated by it?
No.
Were you aware that the filming had to be shut down for a period of time after Mr. Depp injured his finger?
Yes.
Were you aware of any disagreements between Mr. Depp and Disney, including Mr. Bailey and others who were on the project, about artistic differences? In other words, where Mr. Depp thought something should be this way or something should be that way, and they didn't agree with it?
Yes.
Okay. What is your understanding of that?
There was a difference of opinion on how the film was edited.
And what is your understanding of what Mr. Depp thought it should be edited to?
I don't know how to describe the difference between the Disney edit and Johnny's preferred edit. I think Johnny told me about it, talked about it a little bit.
Do you know how well Pirates 5 did at the box office?
Not exactly.
Do you know whether it was more successful or less successful than earlier Pirates franchise movies?
I think it was slightly less than, it wasn't the most successful installment of that franchise.
Do you know whether Mr. Depp has a pay or play clause that would pay him even if he was not in the subsequent Pirates 6?
In 6?
Yes.
I don't think he does.
Have you or anyone at CAA on behalf of Mr. Depp made any efforts with Disney to find any roles for Mr. Depp since he filmed Pirates 5?
My efforts were probably primarily around Houdini, which at one point was a film, but other people at CAA for sure did, yes.
Who were they?
I would start with Jack Wiggum.
We'll now play volume 2 of Mr. Carino's deposition, at which, okay, maybe time for afternoon.
Sure.
Why don't we? It's close enough to it.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
All right, before we get to volume 2, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break. Please do not talk to anybody about the case and don't do any outside research. Thank you.